All right. How's everyone doing?
Hi.
Hopefully everyone liked the lunch just now, and we're excited to bring you guys back. And this is I'm super excited to be here to just get to chat with Bill, and thank you for being here, and thank you for supporting our event. I've talked to a lot of people, and when I mention your name and mention what you do, and always the first question is how and why is Bill here, right?
I'm not sure. We'll find out together.
Yeah. So wanted to ask you, what piqued your interest in Web3 Summit, and what brings you here?
So as the CEO of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, we're both a nonprofit arts organization and also an entertainment industry organization. We've been around since the 1920s. We were formed as a membership group to help build unification within the nascent film industry. The film industry has only been around since the late 1800s, so compared to what you're doing, it's old, but compared to other art forms and cultural organizations, this is a fairly young industry. And over the last century, there's been a lot of disruption in the film industry. We went from silent to sound, black and white to color. TV was something that was very concerning to the film industry. Would people go to theaters? That happened again with cable TV, and then VHS and DVDs. Would people leave their homes? And now we're going through something similar with streaming, and the pandemic really accelerated this, but I am a fan of streaming. It's a great way for people around the world to consume global content, but movies are made to be seen in theaters, and the pandemic really accelerated people leaving theaters and watching at home on streaming. But it's not killing the industry, it's just changing how people consume cinema. So this is another moment where the industry is shifting. And as we look at Web3, we don't have the answer yet, but it's something we're thinking about in terms of audience engagement. Is there a role for short films in the Web3 environment? And then as a nonprofit, we're also thinking about how do we reach a more global audience beyond our traditional audience through components of Web3. And you'll see in Hollywood right now, I mean, every studio is doing something with NFTs, but it's a very early stage conversation.
And for us, and we have guests from all over the world. We have guests from Hong Kong, from Singapore, and we know that the cinema and movie industry, and the creators are from all over the world now. And we discussed a little bit about how that's been transforming. Could you give us a little bit of perspective about your industry and how it's being more global than ever before?
Yeah, so I'll talk about the Academy first and then the industry. We have 10,000 members, and about 25% are international members. We're becoming more and more a global organization, and our membership is all components of movie making: directors, actors, producers, editors, cinematographers, production designers. But we're seeing a shift to a much more global membership. And I don't think that's a coincidence. I think global cinema is something that is much more readily available to people in the US. And we talked about this earlier when Parasite won in 2020 Best Picture. It sort of signaled this moment that both the Academy and Hollywood are looking at global cinema in a very different way. This is something that is part of our pop culture lexicon now. And I also think that during the pandemic, so many of us were at home, we turned to streaming on Netflix, Criterion, Amazon, Apple. HBO Max has the TCM collection, Studio Ghibli collection. You have this access to global cinema in your home in a way that you never did before. So it's becoming something that is much more common to take in. And I think that's exciting for the Academy. It's exciting for the film industry. And Web3, I think, can lead us to another place, if only around global audience engagement. Right?
And on one side is the audience globally, and on the other side is the creators that we discuss, right?
Right.
And so we have a lot of creators that are from Korea and from Japan, and for you guys, for Oscars, and engaging the global creator community, and using technology, and maybe a little bit of perspective on and how that's going to evolve into the future. We'd love to see a little bit into the future of that.
Yeah, our growth, I feel that our growth is as much international as it is domestic. But obviously, we can't run around to every city in the world and do on-the-ground events all at the same time, at least not right now. But it's something we're thinking about. How do we do that virtually? How do we take our content and connect with our members and really with film lovers and film fans around the world? As a nonprofit, I care about our membership of 10,000 film professionals, but really, we want to connect with film lovers and film fans around the world. So what we're talking about today, I think, is another extension of ways in which we can engage a global population. I think in an efficient way as well, and an equitable way.
Right, and for you guys, you see that as a sort of a platform or a tool for you to engage more people.
That's right.
Audience and creators.
And there's also something great about how equitable that is. If you go back to, watching foreign movies in the US, that was for a rarefied group of people who had access to art house cinemas in their cities. Now everybody has access to this. As the Academy, we want to create that conversation around the world in a more equitable way. And it's also about building community, right? You're only as strong as your community. And Web3 allows us, we think, we hope, to create those moments of connectivity with our global audience in a way that's much more efficient and much more real time.
And for you, first, your first role coming into Academy was to build the museum that shows sort of the history and all the things that the Oscars and the organization has done for the industry as a whole.
Yes.
And also another big task that you're giving is to innovate and to transform the industry, transform the organization as well. What are some of the things that you have in mind as you take on the new CEO role?
I think, I don't know if everybody in the audience knows this, but in Los Angeles, we just opened a museum devoted to cinema, the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures. We have the largest film collection in the world, film-related collection. Over 13 million objects are in our collection. So costumes, scripts, photographs, props, you name it, actual films. So now we have a museum that showcases our collection and talks about the history of cinema, the history of the Academy, but it's also very forward-looking. Right? Where are we going? What does it mean to be a cinematographer today or an editor compared to 3 years ago? So I think there's great value in looking at our history to talk about the future. Now things are evolving so quickly. It's extremely exciting. And the power to be your own filmmaker is now in the hands of everyone. So I think the rigor that we can bring as an institution to the narrative, to the understanding around movie making is so critical. But what we've done in the museum, I now want to do at the Academy as a whole. The museum is part of the Academy. But how do we use our global reaching platforms? The Oscars, obviously, is our best known vehicle for discourse and engagement.
Right.
But how can we talk about legacy while not being a dusty organization that's not thinking about the future? I think we can do both. I mean, the value of our brand is so strong, but it's a moment for us to evolve.
That's fascinating. And then technology is a platform, is a tool that you're exploring in that direction, and how to help you guys evolve and transform you guys in this organization.
That's right. It's still a little bit of a question mark. I mean,
Right.
I understood about every third word that was uttered today at the panels, but we're already having much more kind of earthbound discussions with TikTok and Meta YouTube. So we're moving in that direction, but what I'm hearing today and the conversations I'm having today gives me hope that Web3 is really going to accelerate our ability to engage stakeholders around the world. We want to reach as many people as possible.
Right.
We're this interesting organization where the Oscars are sort of a rarefied moment.
Right.
The best known award for excellence in cinema in the world, but I want the world to engage with that, right?
Wow.
Not just the 24 award winners.
Right. And we're already seeing creators are using some of the tools within Web3 and engaging with their fans, and they're creating content outside of sort of the regular movies and shows.
That's right. I mean, we minted an NFT around the opening of the museum, which was mildly successful, but a great way to dip our toe into this world. But you're seeing creators like Kevin Smith and Cronenberg who have created films using Web3 and having Web3 be the only mechanism for distribution and consumption. Now, these are not huge movies, but it's a great sort of R&D moment that is exciting. And I think all of the studios are thinking carefully about this.
Fascinating. And for you guys and internally, you know, for technology shift, evolution of the organization, what are some of the challenges? You know, and whenever there's a change, obviously, it takes time. It takes mindset shift.
Yeah.
And you know, we'd love to learn more about what are the challenges that you're facing that gives perspective on everyone else that's in this environment that we're going through a massive change around the world right now.
Yeah, and I think we're not the only organization or company to be thinking about this.
Yeah.
We're definitely a legacy organization. We've been around for almost 100 years. This is a moment to really rethink a lot of our practices and how we're engaging our public. As part of that, we need a certain level of expertise and infrastructure. And you asked what our challenges are. You know, this is an opportunity, I think, to really look at how we're building teams to take us into the future. But with all of that, we have to make sure that we're staying true to our mission to celebrate the arts and sciences of movie making. So I think the ultimate challenge is, how do we expand? How do we move into the future? How does Web3 factor into that? But how do we stay authentic and true to our mission?
Wow.
And there's nothing scary about that. It's an incredible opportunity for us. And really, I think a lot of cultural nonprofits are thinking about that. You come out of a pandemic, a lot of people aren't buying tickets to go to movie theaters or to see an opera or the Philharmonic. You know, I think a lot of cultural organizations have lost earned income and stakeholders who are coming to a space. But I think that's a moment to really rethink how your content is being consumed and distributed out in the world, but you need to stay true to your content. And we're in the middle of thinking about that at the Academy. And I think the entire film industry is thinking about that.
So the content is obviously the most important. And then really the next, you know, we're thinking about how do we getting that to the most number of people that are interested in consuming that content.
And how do you do this in a way where the quality remains high? You don't want to diminish the quality of the content as you're moving into new distribution vehicles and areas. I think that's a fear that many people have.
Got it. And I'm sure, and right here in the audience, we have a lot of creators, whether they're artists or filmmakers or designers. Any word of advice from you to these sort of creators moving into this time of change and evolution and transformation that we're facing?
Be authentic, keep your quality high. Story is important, no matter what the distribution method is. And think about how you want to reach your stakeholders and what the most appropriate vehicle for distribution is, given who you're trying to reach.
I like that. in the next sort of 6 to 12 months for from the Academy, Oscars? What should we expect? You know, what should we watch out for?
Well, I know all of you will watch the Oscars on March 12th. Please do. But you're going to see, well, I'll semi-announce this, but our 100th anniversary is in 2028. So next year we will be announcing a campaign to bring us to 2028. I'm not going to announce details right now. This isn't the forum for that. But you're going to see a structure and a campaign and a new shift in focus for the Academy that will bring us to 2028, future-proof the organization, and I think bring many more film lovers and film fans and artists into the fold.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Well, please give it up for Bill.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
All right, thanks, man.
Thank you. Yeah, photo, Bill.